Okay, welcome to the very first road to 1,000. So this video series is going to be kind of the documentation of, and not every episode is going to be like this. I just needed to get the first episode out. That's one of the things we're going to be talking about a lot on this channel is, the first 30 to 50 videos, you just need to find the motivation to do them. They're not going to be good, so you need to just get them out there so you have something to work from, right? So this is the road to 1,000. This is how exactly what it sounds like. These are the things that I am trying on my channel, on my channels, I guess I should say, to get to that illustrious 1,000 subscriber mark. So as it stands right now over on the main channel, the Generally Nerdy channel, we have 480 plus, I believe. I could be off by about 10 or so, but it's 470, 480, somewhere in that neighborhood. Subscribers. Our average subscriber right now, I think, is about 2 or 3 a week when we are active on the channel, just coming out of the off season, which we'll discuss that in a whole other video, I'm sure. But yeah, just coming out of the off season, so out of some very minimal activity, it kind of dropped to about 1 a week, 1 every other week. But now that we are back in, I expect it to go back up to about 2 to 3 a week. And then over on the second channel, the Nerd News Clips channel, which is just basically the clips, the smaller chunks of content from the first channel on the second channel. That one we're looking at just shy of 190 as far as subscribers go. So we've got a little ways to go on that one, and we're about halfway there on the main channel. And here, as of recording this, there's 2 subscribers, and it's the other 2 channels. So, all right, so these are the things up to this point, because let's see, I started the Clips channel roughly a year, probably a little over a year ago now. And there's a different plan of attack for the Clips channel than there was when I started the main channel. So I started the main channel roughly 6, maybe a little more than 6 years ago. And it was kind of a side gig because I was actively doing a different podcast. It wasn't necessarily video centric, mostly audio centric, where we would go interview, talk about social things and a little bit of pop culture. And I wanted to do a lot more pop culture, and the other guys that I was doing the podcast with didn't really. So as a means of scratching that itch, I started the Generally Nerdy channel. Eventually that podcast fell apart, and so Generally Nerdy became the focus. I did a lot of different stuff on Generally Nerdy to see what was gonna stick, to see how far I can push myself, to see how productive I need to be to make these things happen. The things that I have tried, just as a general statement, and then we'll go through if anything worked and anything didn't. So the things that I'm going to highlight at least today that I've tried, and going forward in the next episode of this, we'll probably have this conversation again. But the things I've tried for approximately a year, probably more like 9 to 10 months, I would say, I was doing roughly a video a day, which is a lot of work. But at the time, I didn't have a day job. I was taking a little bit of time off from having a day job. I luckily have a very supportive girlfriend who made that a possibility for a stretch of time. So I gave it a shot. I learned a whole lot about how to edit and how to be productive and so on and so forth in that time where I was putting out a video a day. But I didn't see a lot of traction just yet, and that's probably due to a number of things that we'll get into in a minute. I also, and throughout the course of the early days, got to the point of a regular schedule. That regular schedule has changed a number of times at this point, but throughout any given stretch of time, I have some sort of regular schedule that I communicate to my audience. So that's another thing that I've done that has actually stuck. One thing that I've tried to adapt a lot in as far as trying to get out timely content is done is better than perfect. This is something I got from Peter McKinnon in his motivational stuff. Done is better than perfect. So getting it to the point where it's publishable versus getting it to the point where I think there's nothing wrong with it. Those are two very different stages in the creative process. The first one is actually the more important one, at least as far as where I am in my development, as far as I see it, at least in my development right now. So done is better than perfect. Next, and I'm not super proud of this, as we covered in the only real previous video on this channel, a lot about the stuff on this channel I'm not going to be proud of. It's not going to paint me in a great light because I'm learning. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to do stupid stuff. One of those stupid things is I did on the main channel when I was trying to get to the first 100 subscribers. I did some sub for sub stuff, and that is probably one of the things that's bit me in the ass the most as far as subscriber traction and so on and so forth. So yeah, that was not my finest moment, but we'll get into the conversation as to why that happened. And then I created a clips channel. I sample the main channel and cut it into smaller chunks and put it up on the clips channel so it's easier to digest, which seems to be doing a fair amount. And then I've started to diversify where I upload and the kinds of content I upload. So I've made it multifaceted. So the things that have worked for me, regular schedule. Regular schedule has been the thing, I think, probably the second most reliable thing that has gotten me any sort of forecastable numbers, any predictable numbers as far as subscriptions go, is having that regular schedule. At this point, there are a small handful of people who legitimately watch the video the first few hours that it gets posted, the first day that it gets posted. So I have a reliable, I can guarantee myself, because nobody else cares at this point, but I can guarantee myself roughly 8 to 15 views within the first day. That's been fairly consistent over the last year, so I think at this point that can reasonably be expected. We'll get to the number one thing that brings in subscriptions here in just a second. But the next thing that worked pretty well is understanding my niche. That's one of the things that I did during that time where I was doing a video a day and trying honestly to do more, was figuring out what the niche was that I was trying to target. Once I knew the niche 100%, I focused on those videos, and then those videos, the quality started to increase, and those were the regular scheduled videos. So those are the videos that get most of the views by and large. Again, there's the very major exception to most of the stuff that we're going to get to in a moment. So understanding what my niche is. My niche is people who enjoy entertainment media, who are a little bit nerdy, who maybe read comic books, but are a little too busy to keep up on the news in such areas on their own. So that's where I come in. I'm filling in the gaps of knowledge as far as pop culture news. Focus. That's kind of the same thing, right? We're focusing on trying to keep the main channel certain type of videos, and the clips channel is a different type of videos, and then this channel is these type of videos. So focusing and maintaining that focus on the channel helps immensely. Treat it like a job. So that's one of the main things that I learned during that time off, during the time, the video a day time, is treating content creation like it's my job. So I was putting in, 10 to 12 hours a day for that 9-10 months that I was doing it, in order to make the content, in order to learn the things that I needed to know to get the content up and published and interactable. I had to treat it like a job. Now that I have a day job on top of it, I never have a day off. I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, because you have to have a work-life balance. But by and large, I'm working more than I'm not working, because I'm either at the day job or I'm working at the content creation. That's kind of how life is for me right now, at least until I can start getting some form of income from this. And then reactions. That is the glaring exception to the schedule. And honestly, most of these other things. The number one thing I feel like that has brought in subscriptions is my reaction videos. That very likely, from what I've seen from other creators, what I understand from other people who are in the sphere of helping people create YouTube channels and make them successful and so on and so forth. The bits that I've been able to glean as far as how it pertains to me directly, the reactions there will be a flip at some point where the reaction videos are more of a detraction from the main content, and they'll pull in less subscriptions. But as it stands right now, I do reaction videos on the main channel, and that brings in a lot of subscriptions. The other thing, honestly, as I'm sitting here kind of rambling to myself in front of a camera, the other thing that brings in a good amount of subscriptions too, not nearly the same number as the reactions do, is interacting with fans, or with the community. Calling them fans is a little weird to me, because I don't feel like that's exactly what it is. It's not the relationship we have, but having back and forth in the comment section has, I feel like, contributed to very directly to the subscription count as well. But again, as I'm saying that, I can pull up my notes from the most recent episode of the news show and tell you at least 2 people who have left comments on reaction videos, and have also subscribed based on the content in those videos and probably my interaction with them in the comment section. So again, reactions videos right now, for me being a tiny creator, are a boon every time I publish them. Some of them more than others. Like I've done probably a small handful of reaction videos that have very small view counts, but then I've also done a small handful of videos that have very large view counts. So it's kind of you have to pick your reaction videos well, I guess, is the takeaway from that. Things that didn't work. So I already touched on the sub for sub. That probably bit me in the ass a lot more, because the algorithm, since I did that, again, I started the main channel long ago, approximately 6 years ago. And at that point, in order to get your URL from YouTube, that wasn't just a 32-digit randomly generated number, was you had to get 100 subscribers, and then you could name your channel in the URL. The fastest way I knew would work, at least for that very early milestone, was sub for sub. I stopped once I hit the 100 subscribers. Now, if you are a new subscriber, if you're a new YouTuber rather, that is unnecessary. You don't need 100 subscribers in order to do that. Matter of fact, you can have 0 subscribers and you get your handle, or whatever they're calling it, your at whatever your channel name is. You can get that immediately once you open up your YouTube account. So I would say, if I had the knowledge I have now and I had to start from scratch, I wouldn't do sub for sub for any reason, because the YouTube algorithms, the algorithms that they borrow from Google, know when you're doing these things. They can detect that, and they're going to, it's not really shadow banning, but they're not going to recommend your content. And also, you have to think about it this way. if you're doing a sub for sub trade with, you know, you find a group on Facebook, say, or you find a group in some other social media, and it's just people who are like, you sub to me and I'll sub to you, and then we'll have 1,000 subscriptions. Those people aren't watching your content. And this is something that really gets ground into your head as you start to research this kind of stuff, is views are a lot of creators are kind of even steering away from this, but views, from my perspective right now, views are the most important metric overall, because everything else kind of comes with that. View duration arguably could be just as important, or even potentially even more important, but right now, as far as my perspective on the YouTube platform, I would say until you get up over 1,000 or 5,000 subscribers, views are the more important metric to focus on. Once you get to that level, once you've gotten into the partner program and you have a little bit of leeway there, then I would say the focus shifts to view duration, because then you're worried, then you're trying to get people to stay there as long as possible. But right now, I'm just trying to get people in the door. The more people in the door, the better it is for me. Once they're in the door, hopefully they're going to stick around. But right now, it's getting them to the door that's the problem. So that's a kind of a weak metaphor, but you know, it works. But then the other thing that I've learned that isn't as helpful for me, especially considering my main YouTube channel is a news-based YouTube channel, and even more specifically niched down is a pop culture news-based YouTube channel, is a lot of the YouTubers out there, Think Media, Daryl Eves, I can't even think of the rest of them, but there's a bunch of Nick Nimmin, channel makers, all these guys do wonderful work with helping people to create new YouTube channels. But if you're starting a news channel, then a lot of the advice that they have doesn't apply to me or you in the same manner as it would to somebody who is doing, let's say, a more educational channel. Like, they know, this guy knows all about lawnmowers and how to rebuild lawnmower engines. Like, that's that's very specific, and that's what those guys are really good at helping people with. Or if you do comedy content, or if you something along those lines, that's a lot more specific. If you're doing a news show, that's a very steep uphill battle, is what I've been finding out. So yeah, you kind of have to ingest all of the advice that those other channels have for people and work it out for yourself how that applies to you directly. I mean, that's kind of how you should interpret any information that's ever given to you, but specifically, you can't do blanket application of things like other people with other types of channels can. That's what I've learned that doesn't really work like it should, I guess, is probably more appropriate. So, leaving at this brings us to the conclusion of this video. What do I plan on doing about any of this going forward? So going forward, the big thing that I'm focusing on right now for at least the next few months is working on the hook. I want those first 15 seconds of every video to be unavoidable, to be something that really gets people in and they want to hear the news that I'm trying to share with them, or they want to watch the rest of, because I do other stuff on the Clips channel that's not just news related, and on here on the Creation channel, like we're doing definitely not news related content here. So that's what I want to try and do, is work on those first 15 seconds of hook in the video, which kind of plays into the next point, which is payoff on the promise. The promise that you're giving, that you're offering to your viewers, is based on the title of the video and the thumbnail of the video. So whatever those two in combination seem to be promising for the video, I want to pay off at least a little bit on that inside that hook, which is what's going to get them to come through to the end of the video, hopefully. And then also, and this is something that's really going to take some work, is keep my points succinct. I feel like I've done an okay job with that here in this one today, but on the news channel, I have a tendency to ramble. So that's something that I'm trying to get myself a little bit more aware of when I'm in the moment, because I don't script. I take notes. These are notes, like I'll do that, but I don't script anything really. I don't script really beyond that. I just take the notes and then work from the notes and kind of shoot from the hip, if you will. So it's not in my nature to work from a script, so that's probably not going to change. But if I can do something to make those points more salient in my brain before I speak them to a camera, then that will make each point more succinct, and that will make the overall length of my videos become a little bit more digestible, which then in turn will make people more interested in sticking around to the end, because it's not going to be an hour-long video, it's going to be a 40-minute video. And then once I get good at keeping them around about 40 minutes, maybe I'll start to try and trim things here and there and get them down to 30 minutes. I don't think I'll be able to get them shorter than 30, but one step at a time. So yeah, so that is the road to 1,000. That's where we are this month here in January. I will see you again for this series next month, and hopefully I will have a couple other uploads to help you out in the interim. But yeah, thank you very much, nerds, for wanting to learn and grow with me here on this channel. If you haven't already subscribed, do the things. Like I said, I'll see you in a month. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here, and I'm gonna help you make it.